League of Legends is a dying game. If you've been paying attention to social media or any casual hive mind opinions, that's what you've been hearing for a good while now. A lot of that gets put on the blame of the balance team, that Riot is killing off its game, essentially. I don't think that's strictly true, but I also feel like recent patches, and especially 8.16, is taking League in the wrong direction. I believe that the game now is headed to a much more slow pace, stale late game style. So let's take a look at what's changed. We've seen buffs to Sejuani and Gragas, and in the most recent patch, 8.16, a lot of other tanks also receiving some love. At the same time, we've had significant nerfs to more lane dominant or early game laners, people like the Aurelia, Aatrox, the Talon, and also the early game more snowbally junglers like Talia, Trundle, Kindred. Don't get me wrong, it's absolutely okay to nerf strong and oppressive champions, but if you do it at the same time as you're buffing the tanks, it's kind of like you're double buffing the tanks. Basically, when you nerf early game champions, it means it's riskier to play them because they have such a small window of effectiveness, right? Like, if you don't get ahead early, then they're kind of crap. So people just default to these safe choices, which tends to be the tanks and stuff like that. Which of course is exacerbated by the fact that you're also directly buffing those safer champions. On top of this, we've also seen nerfs to the early game damage via the runes. Airy, Electrocute, Celerity, Cheap Shot, Sudden Impact, and Scorch were all hit in this one patch. Less early game damage means it's trickier to get early game leads, which means you're not going to have as many snowballs, which then means that you're going to be picking more of the, well, I think you know where I'm going with this. And as a result of the most recent patches, not even including this one that's just gone down, the meta is already shifting into a more late game style. In the LCK, which is the Korean league, which is often noted for being a step ahead as far as the meta goes, marksmen in that bot lane are almost exclusively being played, especially those scaling marksmen. We're seeing Caitlyn's, we're seeing Ashe, we're seeing Kai'Sa, we're also seeing the Jins, the Varus, the Ezes. In fact, only one game out of the 12 in the first round of playoffs was a mage. Everything else, AD carry. Similarly, in the jungle, more tanks are being picked up in favor of those early game champions. Picks such as Gragas and Sejuani are very popular. We even saw Zac and Skarner being played. What's also quite troubling is the itemization of junglers is heavy just tank engage right now, with Cinderhulk Stoneplate as your first two items being quite popular. And in that mid lane, Azir, Orianna, Zoe, there was even a Malzahar being picked. Basically the safe, scaling, wave clear mid laners. It's not just my opinion on this though. When I was at the EU LCS recently, I was on the post-game lobby, and Nuke Duck was there on the show. He had some thoughts about the rune damage being nerfed too.
Was that confirmed, that they're nerfing the runes?
So all I saw is on the PvE changes, so if they come through, then there's less damage, and if there's less damage on runes, then the game typically tends to scale more towards the
that
late.
makes me really scared that they want to nerf that, because this will be like tank ADC farm for 6 items. Just like the
I'm
old
not
days.
a fan of the change personally. I
neither.
I like the fact right now I feel like we're in an okay spot.
So as you can tell guys, I'm not a huge fan of these changes in the direction the game is going, but I also want to give a bit of a warning here now guys, because from this point on in the video, I am going to be chucking in my opinion, so take things that I say here with a pinch of salt. So the way that the games were being played, especially in pro play, which also then obviously reflected into solo queue, at the beginning of the summer split, it was ridiculously interesting, really fresh, and I loved it. Games snowballed a lot more off of successful early games. There was much less of this turtle and scale play for late game. The champion picks and playstyles were much more dynamic and fun to watch. We saw things like Zed being picked, Caps has been playing Wukong. The meta just in general was much more lucid and interesting. You could basically play whatever you wanted to play in whatever role and more or less not be considered trolling. At least way less than he would have been before. So why is the game being changed into a more farm to late game style? Not only is this much less interesting to watch in professional play in my opinion, but it also puts more emphasis on the AD carries to be the ones carrying. And for me, that really sucks, because as a jungler in solo queue, I really love the fact that I didn't have to play around my bot lane to win. Like when you have mages flying around in the bot lane, and when you have these crazy assassins being picked in mid and in top, and you can play these more carry junglers, I felt a lot more open as to my win conditions and who could be a carry on the team. I felt like maybe a year ago or so, and where we're heading more now, whatever AD carry is stronger will generally speaking be the team that wins in solo queue. And I know I already gave a disclaimer that some of this stuff is going to be a bit more subjective. I'm actually going to give another disclaimer on top of the last one here, because I'm going to say something right now that is most likely going to trigger the absolute crap out of a lot of you guys, but here goes. So people claim that League of Legends is dying and it's because of the changes that Riot makes, right? Don't believe this is true. Honestly, not really. There are way too many factors that influence the popularity of a game title. Impossible to pin it down to just one thing. However, League of Legends is undeniably not the top dog anymore. Fortnite has taken the gaming world by absolute storm, and whereas the overwhelming accessibility of that specific title, you know, consoles as well as just PC, is a huge reason why it's so popular, it's also the fact that battle royales in general are kind of the new in thing. Everyone and their nans has dabbled in a battle royale. Developers are tirelessly scrambling to get a slice of the royale pie, just as companies tried to do with MOBAs back in the day. The point is that I'm trying to make here, one of the huge reasons why battle royales are so popular, especially with the more casual crowd, which, let's not forget, was also a huge chunk of League's demographic and what separated League of Legends from Dota in its widespread success. One of the huge reasons why they're so popular is that battle royale hop in, hop out style. Essentially, you hop into a game, die, hop out, go next, rinse and repeat. Basically shorter single game time dedications, even if players actually end up playing the same amount, if not more time, in a single sit down session with a battle royale as they would with a MOBA. Obviously MOBAs and battle royales are different beasts entirely just because of their genres, but I truly feel like the longer the games are in League, the less appealing the game becomes to the casual player. Like I mentioned, let's not forget, casual players are actually quite an important part of League's fanbase. That's not to mention that it feels way more boring to be playing these kind of games, and also to be watching them as a spectator. Either way, that's all I want to say for this video, guys. Expect to see more of the marksmen in the bot lane and the tanks flying around, the scaling champions as well in your solo queue games. That absolutely does not mean that all of your early game champions are now defunct, obsolete, wank. In solo queue, you can play what you want and you can win with it, so don't get too down by this video. It's just my opinion and I want to share my thoughts. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. You can leave me a cheeky thumbs up if you did. You can subscribe to me for more Legends content. Also, go follow me on Twitter, which is at FoxdropLol, and my Facebook page, which is fb.gg/FoxdropLol. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great one, and I'll see you in my next video.